I was born and I grew up in a town in the west of England called Swindon. And if you're thinking of taking a trip and travelling west and looking at Stonehenge and Avebury and all of these ancient sites in the West Country, don't bother to stop at Swindon. Just keep going, it gets better as you go further west. But Swindon is kind of notable for being the centre of the Great Western Railway works, and because in the 1830s, a very young man in his early 20s, called Isambard Kingdom Brunel, was charged with building the Great Western Railway works in Swindon, because it was kind of equidistant between London and the end, you know. But, so it was a railway town. And I grew up there, and people were always asking my brother and I, now what do you want to do when you grow up? Do you want to go in the drawing office? That was the academic bit of the railway. Or do you want to go in the works? And I thought, well, I definitely don't want to go in the works. I don't really want to do either, and I'm glad I didn't. But we lived in the old town of Swindon, in the very last street in the town. And it's set in Swindon. It is wonderfully and luckily set in this most beautiful landscape of rolling hills that are called the Wessex Downs. And my brother and I, when we were children, we shared a room at the back of the house that had the most magnificent view over these rolling hills. And as children, we could see the weather coming towards us and the most magnificent sunsets. And when we were about 9 or 10 years old and getting into music, he liked Bobby Darin and Helen Shapiro, and I liked the Everly Brothers and Buddy Holly. Not exclusively, but they were my favourites. And we would dream about our heroes that were out there in that western sky. And because we had a few rock and roll heroes in England, Tommy Steele, and in 1959, Cliff Richard and the Shadows. I loved them then and I love them now. But really, our heroes were, of course, like every other child in the rest of the world, or person in the rest of the world, they were here in the United States. And I was the lucky one of the two brothers to come here in 1968. And, of course, I visited Nashville, and I went to look at that little house in Tupelo, Mississippi, where Elvis was born, and I got to walk in the streets of Lubbock in Texas, where Buddy was from. I thought Lubbock would be like Mayberry. But of course, when I got there, I realised it's a big flat land with oil wells going up and down. But that was just fine by me. That's where he grew up, and that's where Peggy Sue was from, and the high school, and all of those things that he wrote about. And it was a dream come true for me. These memories, particularly musical ones, I think become clearer and sort of sharper as we get older. And it's in the title of this song about those days, and this is called The Western Sky. Isn't it a strange world, with you and me, gazing at each other through a misty scene of what might have been. Dreaming of the green hills listen to the night bird that made us cry with its lullaby. And we'll overcome and stand all night do.
I realize what I got to do.
And we'll overcome and stand on the heights. We'll be together in the end. Beautiful adventure is waiting there in the western sky. So bring me some redemption, or take me home. Take me where my heart